Hi there, James here with a little contest announcement. If you follow us on Instagram, we will be reposting one of the pieces of art for the Psycho series drawn by friend of the show, James Gannon. If you would like to win a printed copy of your choice of the 4 pieces he drew, please participate in the following contest. In the comments below that post, tag a friend or friends who might like our show. The more people you tag, the more chances you have to win. But, and I'm serious, don't annoy all your friends. Only go after the people who might enjoy what we do. Social media is bad enough, we don't need to spam all your friends for us. We'll draw the name of the winner at random in 1 week's time. We're having a blast doing this show, but wouldn't mind growing our audience just a little bit in the new year. Now, on to the show.
The worst horror movie I ever saw was fucking great.
Hello and welcome to This May Hurt a Bit. My name is James Strayer and this is...
John C. Myers.
And we are a horror franchise podcast discussing each film in popular and not so popular franchises. And today we are discussing Pet Sematary 2 from 1992, starring Edward Furlong, fresh off of Terminator 2 in his discovery. This guy's been in like 3 movies around that era that I enjoyed, the other one being Brain Scan, which I kind of can't get enough of. And what's that villain's name?
Is it the Trickster?
Like, the Trickster. I almost said Creeper. I remember when we watched that movie for the first time, I watched it with a friend of the show, Michael Holloway, and he goes, I think this movie's going to end with a cackle. And it sure did. Trickster cackled on a freeze frame. But we're not talking about Brain Scan. We're talking about Pet Sematary 2, the sequel to Pet Sematary. And my goodness, a tonal change, if you will. And I can't remember. I feel like I ask you this all the time, but had you seen this one?
Yes.
Okay.
This was I had seen both of the pre-existing
childhood.
ones. Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah. Because me and a buddy of mine like really razzed this when we saw it, and I watching again. I completely understand why, but I had a fun time watching it this time around. I think it's ridiculous. Yeah,
it's ridiculous. There's a little bit. I mean, this is going to go hand in hand with a movie called Pet Sematary, but like, I don't know, man. Anytime a little kitten looks like it's in danger, didn't so much like it. But, you know, the bully character gets a little over the top and kind of pointless, you know. Yeah,
but they did keep in some of the same themes of the first one, although it's a little bit tamped down. But the most important thing is they kept from the first one is all the bike chases.
Oh,
they
of course.
Kept those. Yeah.
Yes. You know, it's very Stranger Things, right? Or,
sure.
Oops, you know, flip that around. Yeah. So, fun fact about this one, Stephen King took his name off of this one.
Yep.
That had to have been tough for Mary Lambert, especially because it seems like they really enjoyed a good collaborative process on the first movie. But boy, could you imagine getting the letter or the phone call that you know, one of America's greatest writers has decided to disassociate himself from your work based on his material.
I mean, he did the whole thing like almost a Gene Siskel level thing where he was like, I read the script or as much of it as I could stand, and I don't, you know, I advise people who enjoyed my work to not go see this.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, I mean, fair enough. You did, you know, you weren't like, everyone should get mad at Mary Lambert. You know, it was just like, this sucks. I don't want anything to do with it.
Yeah. You know, the funny thing is like, based on stuff that he's also written before, like, is this movie that bad compared to other Stephen King stuff? You know, like,
big thumbs up to the Langoliers, but this one, no thanks.
Exactly. I mean, it's not that like preposterous. Maybe he just had like a little bit more of an emotional attachment to the first one because
I can see it's
that.
like, well, I did this already, and now you're doing a worse version of it.
There you go.
I don't want this.
There you go. Yeah. But we open on some great shots of a cemetery. It's very much like kind of Hammer horror, and then you realize that you're literally looking at a movie set. I don't know about you, but like, do you tend to like movies about making movies?
It depends
or on that in that context, especially horror.
Yeah, it depends. Was this one I thought I got a kick out of because it was very like, wait a minute, is this Tales from the Crypt or something?
Exactly.
But, yeah. But it also, I think, sets up the tone for this whole movie, where it is this kind of more gothic, classic-y kind of horror that, like, clearly that we're not doing what was done before. So just get ready for that.
Yeah, and it kind of shows off a little bit of the artifice, if you will, of the rest of it,
Yeah, totally.
We're ditching the folk horror of the first one and going into this weird, Hammer horror over the top type of thing. I did really enjoy the water dripping on the equipment because that sets off the accident just because it gave me Final Destination flashbacks immediately. Yep. It's just waiting for something to go wrong.
I think, perhaps we're a little bit spoiled by that because it's very immediate what happens because it's this set.
Yeah.
This actress, Renee Hallow, is performing and she's there with her young son, Jeff. Played by Edward Furlong. And they're in between takes and water spilling everywhere for some reason. Like, I didn't really understand. I guess the basement she's going into is supposed to be flooded or something like that. Yeah. I don't fully understand. And there's some electrical problem that happens and she ends up getting electrocuted and her face like melts against the bars.
Yeah. She does say,
ridiculous.
Like, for no reason, not that you need a reason to tell, a family member that you love them, but it's not prompted by anything, but she does say,
Jeff, I love you.
That's just not going to end well if somebody says that in the beginning of a horror film.
Yeah.
I did enjoy that the movie was called Castle of Terror, and I would absolutely watch that movie in a heartbeat. So
totally.
I'd like to see Castle of Terror myself.
Yeah, no question. It's laid out that she and her husband are divorced or are splitting up.
Right.
And Edward Furlong, Jeff Matthews, wants them to get back together. But no. That's not going to happen because she gets electrocuted
on set.
So that already happens. You watch this guy, his mom dies right in front of him. And then it immediately goes to his dad, cuts to his dad, who is putting an animal to sleep. Like,
what a cut. Yeah, what a cut.
He's consoling this family that's like, no, she had a long life. This is the right thing to do.
Right, just euthanizing a dog.
Yeah.
Well,
right out of the gate movie.
Yeah. Then it cuts to a funeral scene that is pretty crowded. There's even reporters there, but so I guess this woman was of some fame. I guess I really wanted Stephen King to be there presiding over the funeral, as in the previous one, but no dice.
No dice. Got to get Dean Koontz for this one.
Clancy Brown rolls up as the sheriff, and I just immediately love him. I mean, I watched this maybe for the first time like 3 years ago or so. When I think of this movie, it's just Clancy Brown.
Yeah,
so here's his entrance. Love him to death. We noticed that Edward Furlong and his dad, what's his dad's name? Like Chase or something dumb?
Chase.
Chase. Yeah. Ugh. So Chase and Jeff, dorks, are moving, and the movers are moving all the mom's clothes and belongings up to the attic. And a housekeeper shows up, just like in the first movie, and it made me think of...
Guess I'll never be lucky. Hell, I ain't married to anyone.
And so I'm immediately like, okay, so everybody who moves into this neighborhood gets a wacky housekeeper lady.
Yeah.
She's all starry-eyed, and she loves the idea of the clothes that the mom owned. And a dress falls out, and she's already just very strange about the mom.
Yeah, well, she's just kind of strange in general. Like, she shows up, and she kind of looks like the mom, but younger and hotter.
Yeah.
Okay. There's a lot to unpack there because Chase is immediately like, you don't look like you sounded on the phone. What did she sound like on the phone?
Right.
Like, I want to be your housekeeper.
Yeah. Does she have a dowdy voice?
Yeah. But yeah, she shows up and she's just immediately just fascinated by these clothes that get tipped over, pulling them out, like, oh, this is beautiful. Those are not your. What are you doing?
Yeah.
I guess to be you automatically get assigned a housekeeper, and that housekeeper is a different kind of insane.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, and Edward Norton, Jeff Matthews is already like, nah, I don't like this person. This is
Edward Norton.
Yeah. What did I say? Oh, yeah. Edward Furlong. Yeah.
Edward Furlong had a lot of opinions on the edit of this movie, much like Edward Norton.
They had to lock him out of the edit suite.
Muscled his way into the edit bay. Father and son show up in an abandoned vet hospital, and Edward explores, and he gets pounced on by a kitten. Chase, the dad, is like kind of on the fence about letting him have a kitten, but of course he says yes, all that kind of stuff.
Well, I like that fake out, because it is like, so much like the first one, dad is in town, he's the new doctor in town, but he's a vet.
Right, there you go.
So you get more animal stuff, but then they go, there's like something's going on in the back, they go and a cat pounces at him, and so you're like, oh, evil cat back again. Nope, it's a nice cat. It's just guarding its kittens.
Clancy Brown's son, Drew, brings in this like pretty beautiful like husky to get checked out by Chase. At this point, Clancy Brown takes it upon himself to mention to Edward Furlong that his mom and him used to be sweethearts.
Prom, homecoming, whole 9 yards.
Right in front of our meek little vet named Chase here.
Yeah.
It's kind of strange because I don't think that ever comes up again. It just seems really thrown in.
I think it's supposed to give motivation for him digging her up later.
Oh, that makes sense.
But yeah, it just is this weird like flexing. I mean, it sets up that he's an asshole, because Gus is Clancy Brown is a huge asshole in this, that he's just like, yep, your mom and I used to be sweethearts, and like he could have ended it there, but he's like, yeah, prom king, prom, all of the homecoming, the whole 9 yards, and like, and then he makes eye contact with the dad. He's like, whoop, I said too much.
Yeah,
sorry.
Right.
Just telling your kid how I banged his mom.
Right.
Sorry.
I was there first. Jeff goes to his first day of school, and for some dumb reason, he takes the kitten.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm always on the side of the weirdos forever, but just don't take your cat to school. I'm not saying he deserves to be bullied, but don't take your cat to school.
Well, what's amazing about this, you've already heard a little bit of it, but man, the soundtrack for this movie really kicks in here.
Oh, yeah.
And I guess initially, Mary Lambert wanted just a straight up electric guitar soundtrack. That was it. Almost like Dead Man, where it was like Neil Young just flipping around on the guitar. But just nothing but that, just making noise with the guitar in the studio went absolutely not.
Yeah.
But it is this very like grunge style. Like there's an L7 song on there that really I had thought about in years.
Totally.
But it's just ridiculous. And it made me think a little bit of Pumpkinhead 2, in that the first one of these is, we know it's a town. We know it's at the town Ludlow, because Lewis is there to be the doctor. But it's this isolated, like, here are the two houses this is happening at.
Yeah.
And so all of a sudden have it be like, oh, and there's this town with like these like young high school or kids, whatever. Just felt a little bit like, oh, right. Yeah, there's other people involved in this.
Sure. We're not out in the middle of nowhere.
Right. Yeah. Because I noticed also, like, almost right away, that the trucks are gone. There's like no mention of the trucks. They don't show up.
Oh, gee whiz. I didn't even think about that.
The heartbeat of the first movie.
Right. That's interesting. I wonder if that was a conscious choice.
Yeah.
I mean,
or maybe it was a rights issue. Like Stephen King's like, you can use the name, but not my trucks.
my trucks. I've got plans for trucks later on.
I've got some big ideas.
And I'm directing that one, he says.
But he takes his cat to school and immediately gets bullied from it. The bully, Clyde, played by Jared Rushton, who was like bugging me what I knew him from, and it was Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
Yeah, I had the exact same. Yeah.
Yeah, it's taken me forever. But what I love is the bully routinely is bullying him about his dead mom.
I know.
Sorry about your mom, huh? Neighbor said it was pretty gross, getting fried like that.
It's so unbelievably cruel.
Yeah.
Like, what, your mom just cook up?
Right.
Like, kids are mean, I guess.
Clyde takes the kitten and runs to his own bike, and we had this kind of like meaningless bike chase. They do bike past a house with a mailbox that reads Creed, of course. And, we've got a real Stephen King bully scene here. Just reminds me of, It and stuff like that. Right.
Sometimes they come back. That stuff.
The group of bullies beat up Jeff, but they know about the pet cemetery, which is, I'm always interested in movies like this. Like, is it a Pumpkinhead type thing of like, is it local lore? Does everybody kind of know about this? That's a long way from just like, Judd just knowing about it, which is kind of strange to me.
Well, they kind of bring it up later because like this gravedigger later was like,
I swear, this is
Weirdest thing that's happened since Louis Creed dug up his boy.
And it's like, yeah, either this town is never going to talk about that,
right,
or that is all they're going to talk about.
I mean,
and I think it's the latter. I think it was just, people are like, this is crazy what happened here. And so they're always going to be talking about the Creed murders.
For sure. Jeff finds the path to the pet cemetery, and he finds the cat in the cemetery. Drew is there, and he says right there that he wishes Gus or Clancy Brown might die.
Well, before, like, the cat's alive.
Oh, yes, I should mention that. Yes, the cat is alive.
Because it's a kitten, and it's a kitten named Tiger that looked like my old cat Tiger.
Oh.
So I was like, you don't touch him. Right. But yeah, no, they just faked him out. Because they tell him that the cat's head got stuck in its spokes.
Right.
Which I shouldn't laugh, but that's just so ridiculous. Like, that's something that happens in a Fulci movie.
Right.
So they were just messing with him. And yeah, Drew shows up. Edward Norton is like, yeah, you're never ready. I did again. Edward Furlong is like, you never know when you can't get over when your family dies. He was like, I wish Gus would die. And I like that his response is,
you shouldn't say that about your parents, not even your dad.
The way he said, it's not like even your dad. It's just even your dad.
Just like, overall.
Your family plus the dad.
Right.
No one is good to say that about.
Cut to Gus. He's fixing up his rabbit warren with electrical fencing, which seems a little overkill, but I'm not questioning Clancy Brown. Cut to the father at the house and the housekeeper, who is all done up, and she's really doting on him. And just out of nowhere, just Edward Furlong just says, "You're not my mother." Which, classic teenage boy line from a movie like this. But it seemed like extra out of nowhere for some reason. But I guess if they're really trying to hit the hammer on the head about her like becoming his mother just through the dress and stuff, which just never made sense until the very, very end.
Yeah.
And even that just still didn't work for me, really.
It's really a reach. It feels like there's a lot of this movie that's like, here's some themes if you really want to think about it. But we're not going to.
Yeah.
Because like, here's sort of the setup for some stuff. Because you could make a whole argument about this being a companion piece, almost a phantasm, where it's about a young boy trying to deal with death, a 13-year-old boy dealing with death and grief and loss, and like, oh, here's someone trying to replace his mom. But that's the beginning and the end of their relationship is that scene.
That's it.
And then like what that could mean, because then like basically everyone around him, with the exception of Drew, is a pretty shitty guy. I mean, his dad is kind of not, he's not a bad guy, but he's not very present. He's a little bit more energetic than Lewis, but not by much.
Yeah.
And like, there's all these interesting threads that can be pulled there, but they just went, no, let's just get goofy with it.
Yes.
Instead. And I don't hate the choice.
I was going to say, I kind of like the goofy, but
it does feel, there are parts of this that feel like later Silent Night, Deadly Nights, or just like, at least like that straight to video kind of like, just fuck it. We're doing this. Right. We're doing another dream sequence. We've had 3 already. Yeah, we're doing one more. Doesn't matter.
Right. Fine. Yeah. Flash to Gus's house. He's sitting down to eat dinner. Gus tries to talk to Drew, tells him not to eat so much. Cut back to Jeff watching TV, asking his father if mom and him would have gotten back together. So we're getting kind of like between the two households what their evenings are like.
Well, I also like, because I think it's here where you see the first bit of whatever movie they keep going back to watch his mom in, and it's something where like she's getting roughed up by some mobster.
Where's your boyfriend?
I don't know.
Don't lie to me,
Jeff.
He's terrorized. The monster's like terrorizing her. She's like, oh, I don't know what you're talking about. And then like, I think he slaps her.
Yeah.
Later, when Anthony Edwards Chase is watching the same thing, it's that plus she gets shot, and it's like this is the one movie that you want to remember. Like, right. The movie is her getting crushed by a piano and standing up, and the keys are her teeth, and they're like, she's so beautiful. Right. I want to remember her just like this. It was just really funny, like the way it's cut, particularly when Anthony Edwards is watching it. It's just like every time it cuts back, something worse is happening to her.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I wonder if that was like on purpose, or if they were just like, she's a B-movie actress, and these are the kind of roles that she took, and that kind of stuff.
Or like she's like a Jim Carrey kind of thing, like it's her talking out of her butt, and they're like,
totally,
she was good, she was so good,
she was good. She could talk out of her butt like no one's business. Clancy Brown and the mom, he gets interrupted. The dog is trying to get into the rabbit den, so he just goes out and shoots the dog.
Yeah.
So now we all hate him.
Yeah, Clancy Brown is already at this point like he's this overbearing father to his son. He's apparently stepdad, like he's the new dad in town.
Right.
Well, he's not the dad. He's not the stepdad. He's the dad that stepped up, and he is trying to be the disciplinarian and like telling Drew like you're eating too much and don't look at the TV. Don't have the TV on while we're having dinner. I told you to keep the dog outside. All stuff, and it's like okay, well he's stern, but like, and he you're calling your kid fat. That sucks. Yeah. But it's like, okay, it's nothing out of the realm of whatever. But then as soon as he and the mom are trying to have the maritals, and then the dog activates the electric fence, and he's like, "Oh, I've had it," and goes out and just murders the dog.
Ugh,
and you get like it shoots it, and it like runs off, and Drew goes and following it. And of course, they get to basically like the pet cemetery,
right?
And the dog is dying, and there's like they have this big metal, not metal, but this electric guitar. Like the song is something about fading away, and it's like, man, they don't make them like this anymore. It's very 90s.
Yes, and so the boys take the husky up to the pet cemetery, and then Drew does know there's a place beyond the pet cemetery that's even better. And I can't remember if he says it's a Micmac burial ground or not.
I don't think he names them. I think it's just Indian.
Right, yeah.
To use the nomenclature of the time.
Yeah.
For the kind of movie this is, for being a little bit more sort of wild and woolly, I kind of like that this is like, well, I heard this is the case. Let's go try it out. Oh my God, it works. And I was thinking about like why that didn't bother me as much in this one as it did, where I was looking for much more of a sort of cohesive element in the first one. And I think it is just because the movie is clearly like, you're not going to get any of that here. Like, what are you doing? Like, it's kind of set up like this is just going to be kind of a sillier thing to a degree.
Well, it's also, I feel like it's more believable for two teenage boys to think that this might work than a wizened old man. And so if it's just the two teenage boys, like, didn't you hear? You bury your dead dog back here and he comes back to life. Yeah,
I think because the first one's a little bit more grounded, there's weight to it, whereas this one this doesn't really have that. So it's more just like, why not? And then we can get into later, like how the dead react later. But so they go up there to bury the dog. The path doesn't seem as treacherous this time around.
Like, that's true.
We're just going to get there.
No Wendigo.
No, certainly no Wendigo. And then Drew's like,
you have to bury your own. That's the way the Indians did it.
And again, it's this thing that's like, sure. It's some like lore that just this 13-year-old is saying. It doesn't really matter.
Well, that just means that Furlong can just sit there and look pensive, stare off into the distance.
I will say this, like because I think the last Edward Furlong movie I watched was that Crow movie. Yeah. David Boreanaz, how dare you? But he's really good at like selling anguish. Yeah, on his face, he looks like a very troubled kid in this movie several times. But they bury the dog, and he's like, if this doesn't work, don't say anything to anyone that we did this.
I kind of like that little touch too. That's absolutely what teenage boys would say to each other. Just like, please don't say that I tried to bring my dog back to life.
That I believed in this crap. Just don't. Yeah. That's going to be way, way worse.
Drew's folks get mad at him, lying that he buried his dog. And then we see the dog for the first time. Definitely looks a little nasty. He's got like kind of glowing eyes, matted hair, that kind of thing. Looks pretty cool, really.
It looks great, but it's kind of funny that the family's like, yeah, no, I was like got matted blood on him and whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
That's dogs will be dogs. That's the way it goes, I guess.
Granted, it's out in the country and maybe they get into stuff a little bit easier, but I would be shocked if my dog came back looking like that.
Yeah, they made a point in the first one to call out how bad church smelled.
Yes, exactly.
And that that's just not even a thing in this.
Right.
Because the church wasn't dead that long when they put him in the ground, so it couldn't just be like, well, he was dead long enough that he
started rotting. Yeah. They call Chase the vet, who comes and picks him up in his pet ambulance, and it's kind of sad just watching him go away with a hurt dog in the back of it. Yeah. So in this movie, you've got your either like 90s grunge tracks, or there's a ton of this kind of like neo-folk goth music playing throughout it. It's very like kind of current 93 or Michael Cashmore type of stuff, and I kind of dig it a lot because got a lot of that kind of records
There was one that like the opening noodling on the guitar sounded like the intro to the song from MASH.
Oh, yeah. Suicide is painless.
Every time I would hear that start, I was just like,
Yeah,
but
right.
No, it wasn't. You let me down, movie, by not being the theme from MASH.
Not going to be Hawkeye. I did like this next bit when they're at the veterinary office. The dog doesn't have a heartbeat.
Right.
And he has yellow eyes. So they lock him in this cage. But I feel like they brushed over it pretty quickly. Just like, I can't feel a heartbeat in this dog. But I find it eerie and interesting, and I like that aspect.
That's weird. And then, when they take the blood, like a bunch of blood comes shooting
squirts out. Yeah,
yeah. This is a lot gorier than the first one,
for sure. Yeah. And, especially when it comes to animals, which is a little harder to watch sometimes.
I do think just in general in this one, not to get too far ahead of ourselves, but Mary Lambert's music video background seems like it plays a lot heavier in this.
Oh,
just the way scenes are kind of put together and whatever. It's a lot more stylish. But so you have this dog that is just, there's no heartbeat. And the vet's like, well, I guess that happens sometimes. Right. I'll worry about it later.
Yeah. Is it the stethoscope? Is it my instruments? I don't know. Cut to a great Halloween mask close up. So we discovered this movie takes place at Halloween. I had no idea.
Yeah.
Maybe I forgot.
Yeah. I like how it goes from the dog to the dog face.
Exactly.
Or whatever. Yeah.
I always like a horror movie that's set during Halloween. It just gives it that kind of fall atmosphere. But I feel like they don't really talk about it being Halloween except for this party, I think, and just the kid putting on the one costume, and they kind of brush over it pretty quickly.
That's basically, it's just a little set piece. You think this is where stuff's going to really go off because it's Halloween, and not really. It sort of does. It kicks off the plot of the movie, really, because the two boys are going to go to, I guess it's a thing for the young people to go hang out at the pet cemetery. And Edward Furlong in basically a Jason costume. It's like Jason crossed with Michael Myers because he's wearing a jumpsuit.
Right.
Then the mask, and then Drew is Dracula. You get a little moment with Drew and his mom, where Drew wants, she wants them to get along.
Yeah.
Him and Gus. And Drew's trying to be nice about it. I liked Drew a lot. And I guess that actor Jason McGuire was kind of super nervous because he'd never really done a movie before, but Edward Furlong and him got along really well. But I liked him. I thought it was good. So they go to this party, and immediately when they get this pet cemetery, it's a little creepy. And then Edward Furlong sees his mom, who glides down at him. And no, it's the bullies threw a dummy that looked like his mom at him.
Jesus.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
That is psychotic.
Just up a level of torment,
And then he hangs out. Why would you be
Right.
That's my mom.
I'll bring him around. I'll be friends with him eventually. If we can just get over this, making fun of my dead mom thing, we can all get along, right?
which I myself am totally over and don't have a problem with it at all.
Right.
Yeah, she's still they're and then that scene's done, and the next thing you know, they're sitting around a campfire telling stories.
Right.
Why would you continue to hang out with that guy? But teenagers are dumb and weird. So.
Yeah. Clyde does start telling the story of Pet Cemetery 1, and he mentions Ellie escaping, which, of course, I was just that's what Mary Lambert wanted to do, is make a story about Ellie.
And it's so funny is that the studio was no one's going to watch a movie about a teenage girl.
Yeah.
We can't sell that as a lead. And it's that's what it is now.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the protagonist of everything.
Right.
So show us how much you know, dummy.
Mm-hmm. Party gets busted up by Gus. The poor kid with the best costume gets busted. I believe I meant Drew right there because I loved his costume so much.
Yeah. Well, he gets busted because Gus comes home. He's out of smokes and he's getting some more smokes.
Yeah.
And the mom is covering for him.
Mm-hmm.
She wants to get along, but she's I don't want to be the disciplinarian that, I love my son. She's trying to cover for him, and he finds out that, she let him go to this party, and he's pissed. And so he goes to find her. And as a result, busts up the entire shindig.
Thanks for screwing up our Halloween, dumb shit.
And then gets his throat torn out by a dog.
Yeah.
At the end of that scene. So, yes, not
just any dog, Zowie.
Zowie, the back from the dead dog, ends up tearing the throat out of Gus in a, I think he just kind of falls over or something like that. He trips running after one of the kids or... And it goes for his throat, and he's and they don't help him because that's scary. Why would you? Right.
But I love in total dumb teenage boy logic. They're just we have to bury him.
Yeah.
We can get him back. This is fine. We can fix this. It'll be fine. Your dog's insane and just killed your stepdad. But I'm sure it'll be fine.
It'll be different next time, constantly.
Yeah, and they bury him, and they're out all night doing that. The next day when he comes home, Drew's mom is yelling at him.
God, what happened to you?
Nothing happened, Mom. We just ditched Gus, that's all.
Wink.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
I get it. And then and then Anthony Edwards is pissed at Edward Furlong for being out so late. And like their relationship is very strange to me because like there's not a lot of communication between the two of them. Or like at one point he's like, "Hey, are you okay?"
Yeah.
And Furlong's like, and then that's about it. You know.
Right.
Otherwise, he's pretty kind of aloof about the whole thing.
I wrote in my notes, I said something like, I don't know, the older I get, the more I understand scenes like this where the father is just like, you can't just stay out all night, man.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, if I had a kid that was coming home at like 8 a.m, I'd be like, you got some explaining to do, kiddo.
What the hell?
Have you been burying cops in a pet cemetery again?
I did that once. I was just hanging out at a friend's house. It was a party. It was all innocent thing. Like no one was drinking or anything, but we were all hanging out. It was late enough. And I'm like, you know what I'll do? We had a teen line. Back in the day before like cell phones, whatever. And I called my sister and I was like, could you leave a note and let them know I'm just going to stay the night at Neil's or, whatever.
Yeah.
She didn't. And then the next day when I woke up and I got home, my parents were like waiting in the kitchen for me all pissed off. I was like, hey, I called my sister.
Oh no.
And so she just got in trouble.
No.
Boom.
Nice.
Yeah.
Edward Furlong goes to sleep. There's a Jason mask off to the side, prominently shown. And there's this fantastic shot of Clancy Brown like cackling as he walks by the window. That's why he cast this man.
I forget, has he already had the dream sequence with his mom? There's a bunch because there's one where he imagines his mom like sitting in the rocking chair, and then her head turns into the dog's head. So it must be after they bury the dog into the dog head, and then there's this really cool shot of the bed. He's like trying to reach for her while crawling across the bed, and the bed just goes flying backwards.
That was cool.
And that was a very like music video-y kind of shot.
There you go. Yeah.
I think the dog-headed bomb that shows up several times is very, very silly looking.
Absolutely.
But yeah, there's a bunch of dream sequences in this, and it's very funny that I guess it's the Jason mask, so not exactly, but I feel like the dead in this, as we'll soon discover, are much more like Clancy Brown's Gus is much more of a slasher villain than in the first one. Like there's a little bit more to it than that because it seems like he's sort of figuring out how to live again, and there were elements of it that honestly reminded me of Bob Clark's Death Dream in that regard. Oh, it's really good. Highly recommended. About a kid who gets killed in Vietnam. His parents are like really upset about it. They're like, no, he's not dead. He's not dead. And then he shows up at their door one day.
Yeah.
Really good. Director of Black Christmas. So it's and I think.
And Christmas Story.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's what I was thinking of. Because Gus comes back, but like, he's not like Gage. He's not immediately like this evil sorcerer right out of the gate.
Right.
And
he doesn't have like powers like Gage did.
And he's not a lumbering zombie the same way that the other guy was in this story that Judd tells in the first one. He's still acting like that everything's normal and fine. And it eventually kind of dawns on him. They're like, oh wait, I'm dead.
Yeah.
I can do whatever.
Like he just kind of lumbers around acting drunk almost. It's just like he's just regular old Gus, but like maybe several beers deep. It seems He does try to cover up a wound with a bandage, which is kind of funny because it's this big gaping wound and he's trying to like cover it up. He just says that like he's cold. His wife says he smells bad, I think.
There's a little nod to the smell there.
Yeah. And then he basically just assaults his wife in bed. Yeah.
Yeah. That was a little rough to watch. They went right to that. So tonally, because it's been kind of silly or whatever, then it's like, oh, well, that's much less so.
Yeah, exactly. Cut to Chase the vet.
Well, at this point, Chase is getting a call back about this. The blood
lab
sample.
results.
He sent out this blood sample. And the vet on the other end is like, ha, 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 you sent me a dead animal's blood. Why would you do that?
Right.
And the whole time he's like sawing open another dog's head.
Exactly, yes.
Good God. Again, just like pointlessly gory, but I love it.
Right.
Because like, oh, you know what? I got to do this brainiotomy on this dog. Let me just I'll just multitask here, get a phone call in. You took over for Yolander, right? Well, the last guy that sent me dead animal blood was Yolander.
Yeah.
So go talk to him, you jackass.
Right.
Meanwhile, there's like two small girls
two little
twins.
Barbara Cramptons.
Yeah.
That's what I thought they looked like.
If Barbara Crampton was the Shining twins.
Yes, there you go.
But they, with their mom, like, oh, well, we're here to pick up some, you still have the kittens? We want to go see kittens. He's like, oh, yeah, sure. Go. We're there in the back. Go check it out. And little kids go back, start losing their minds because Zowie, the dog, has gotten out and just butchered the cats.
Yeah.
Just butchered all the kittens. And fortunately, it done off screen.
Right.
With that information of this animal's dead. And Chase is like, no, he's not. I've seen him up and around. Like, no, he's totally dead. And then, oh my God, you murdered all these kittens and has gotten out.
Right.
Chase is on the hunt.
Right.
Looking for Zowie.
Cut to a guy stuffing dead pets.
Yes.
Taxidermy, as we call it.
If you were to ask me about Pet Sematary 2, this is the first shot that comes into my head.
Oh, funny. With the little eyes.
Yeah, because you see this this pug that he's looking at as like almost like a Rottweiler thing. I don't know what it is. This dog is like, you would look better with blue eyes. And he just punches the eyes out of the head, like from the back. So the eye just bulges out.
Right.
And it's if you're not ready for it, it's very upsetting because it looks like a real dog.
Yeah. You don't know that it's a dead dog being taxidermied.
Yeah, stuffed dog. I mean, I guess technically it is, or was a real dog, but yeah, it's that is Quentin Yolander, the former doctor of Ludlow. Chase comes to talk to him about what's been going on. And he just wants to be left alone, but eventually, lets Chase in. Chase does this whole thing, and he brings up, Yolander brings up, oh yeah, no, that I did the same thing. That they called the cat Church. And I'm like, well, okay, this is retconning because at no point in the first one did they ever take the cat to the vet.
That's what I thought too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he would have no, I mean, unless maybe in the book, I don't remember, but.
Oh, wait, no. They were packing Church up once because he was going to go get fixed.
He was going to go get fixed. But at that point, he was still alive. He wasn't dead yet because they were going to get him fixed so he didn't wander to not get hit by the car. But
okay.
Yeah, you're still going to, the first one, it's even if your desires are taken away from you, you're still going to pursue him for whatever reason. But so that's just, they added this, that no, this guy's kind of familiar with it. The whole town sort of knows what's going on. Or that he found the cat later when it was dead and was like, oh, this cat's dead. I don't know. Yolander is just pissed about it. He's just a grumpy old man.
Right. Yeah.
It does set Chase on this. Okay, this is something bad is going on. It's
backed up by somebody else.
Yeah.
There's
I'm not going crazy. There's something going on.
There's something afoot. Clancy Brown is now gutting a rabbit, and we get him just kind of full on nuts. And this is why you cast Clancy Brown. Scenes like this. He's
just tearing apart his warren.
Yep.
And skinning all the rabbits to L7's shit list.
Yeah.
Which is great.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a weird thing too, because I think before that, when they're hanging out, Drew and Edward Furlong are hanging out, and Drew's like,
he even kind of smiles. Like he forgot he hates me. And then you know what he does? He serves me an extra helping of pancakes. I asked him if I was still grounded. No. I asked him if he could stay over tonight. And he nods.
Jeff, nice kid, because he's like, yeah, I totally want to go spend the night at your house with your awful dad.
Yeah, exactly.
That would be a thing I would love to do.
Right.
but still does. And they watch him just skin a bunch of rabbits.
Yep.
Which is very funny earlier when we see him with the rabbits, that he's watching two rabbits fuck, and he's like, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool.
Right.
I can't wait to do that with my wife.
Right.
But yeah, so they watch him do that, and then you get this fantastic dinner scene.
Yeah.
Clancy Brown this whole time is just staring at Edward Furlong and just
chewing
eating whatever's in front of him. The thing gets set down and he takes it almost claiming it. This this alpha move of just I'm eating this. What are you going to do about it?
Yeah. There's nothing creepier than just chewing and staring at the same time.
And then he gets super close to Jeff and then just burps.
Yeah.
And then just laughs for a solid 20 seconds or so. As just.
And I think Drew even laughs a little bit.
Yeah,
he's kind of smiling about it.
Because there's so much of this movie that you could play a number of different ways. That could be a really, really chilling scene, the way you set it up. And it's not. It's played more for laughs or whatever, which is fine, because that's the tone of this movie. But you can see where there's horror buried under a lot of this.
Right.
At one point, his neck wound is festering, and Drew tries to cover it up with the bandage. It's all fine. Everything's fine. We didn't do anything wrong.
Normal family dinner tonight. Chase starts to fortify his house. The creepy dog Zowie is back. I had kind of forgotten about him for a while. Chase and and the housekeeper had this weird blue tinted sex scene, and she says,
No,
I can't.
that's the mom.
That's the mom. Okay, see.
Yeah.
Yeah. To your point of her looking exactly like it. Yeah.
Like the fact, like, it makes you wonder. I know there's a work print that was around that like had a little bit more like gore in it and some other stuff. But it makes you wonder if there were more scenes with that storyline in there, because
Got it.
It's for a thing to not deal with at all. It's such a strange thing to have just sort of lingering there, that this like thing, this woman that kind of looks like your mom, but is not, is hanging around. Because there were multiple times where I'm like, wait, oh no, that's the housekeeper.
Yeah, exactly. I thought the scene was pretty dumb until the wolf head appeared. And I did kind of love that image. The image of the nude woman with the wolf head was just like, well, that needs to go on the side of a van, you know, right away, please.
Yeah. Well, it's just like the way it's framed, where it's like, you see this one, it's like, oh, he misses her. And then like, well, he's going to miss these.
Yeah,
and takes over.
Exactly.
It's very made for teenage boys in the 1990s. But yeah, yet another dream sequence with the wolf-headed mom.
You know, then we get more kids on bikes. Clyde the bully is on like some sort of like mini bike now. He starts chasing Jeff down the road again.
They're enemies again, because why not?
Because why not? And like, you know, we haven't seen Clyde since the party or something. Like he could have just like, you know, disappeared for all I know. He ends up shoving Jeff off the road, who lands, rolls down the hill, hurt. He's about to shove Jeff's face into a bike tire, much, I guess, like the kitten that he referred to last time, when Gus shows up and tells Jeff to just go home. And then he uses the dirt bike tire to just like drill into the bully's face. It seemed like on accident at first, and then he kind of enjoyed it and went in for a second, you know, thrust.
Yeah. So, I mean, it kind of made me wonder about like sort of the nature of the revived in this, is that because Clancy Brown like takes the, like, he's got the kid on his back, like on the ground, and takes the kid's dirt bike and starts like revving it up and holding the tire close to his face. Like, you know, I'm terrorizing with it.
Yeah. He says, just fucking with him.
Yeah.
Which is funny.
And then the kid's scarf gets caught up in the bike somehow and like just starts like choking him. And then he's like, whoa. And I think maybe like, blood splatters at that point.
Blood splatters onto his face.
Yeah. And he's like, well, I'm this far in. Why not? And
exactly.
Continues to just like put it against his face. So it kind of seems like that's the moment where Gus really is like, oh, I'm different now.
Yeah.
That's kind of feels like an awakening of sorts.
Sure. That's where he gets the taste for blood.
Yeah.
Here.
Pretty much. But unfortunately, at the top of the hill, there's Drew. He's going to watch his stepdad murder a kid.
Right. Drew makes it home, grabs a shotgun off the wall. This did make me laugh. Gus pulls up in a police car and he calls out over the PA system.
This is the police. Come out with your hands up.
To his own stepson, and that was pretty great.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I mean when like he's a little bit more of a slasher villain. Like he starts getting a lot more like one-linery and clever about it.
Yeah. He comes inside really quickly. He almost like Jason bilocates into the home, grabs the gun out of Drew's hand, but not before. And I always pay attention to this when these scenes kind of happen. Drew pulls the trigger. So I'm always interested in the intent. Like he was about to shoot this guy.
Yeah, he was willing to. Yeah.
Yeah. Pulls the trigger, doesn't work. Somehow Gus had managed to remove the shotgun shells from the gun at some point. Doesn't matter when.
Well, chances are he didn't have a loaded gun just hanging around his house.
That's probably
not
true.
A true American.
You're right. Yeah. Drew starts just running all over the house trying to get away. And then his dog, Zowie, starts chasing him as well. And, you know, once again, I'm just like, I'm kind of confused as to where the loyalties lie with the dead animals brought back, much like Church in the first one.
I think in this one in particular, it seems like the goal of the revived dead is get some more dead. Almost like the Deadites from Evil Dead.
Oh, sure.
Their brother, because particularly as we get towards the end, that just seems like the goal. Yeah. But yeah, then the mom rolls up, Drew's mom rolls up, and he gets in the car with her, and he's like,
trying to kill me! What are you talking about?
They peel out. And this chase scene is very strange because like routinely we'll cut to the car and they don't look that concerned while they're in the car.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, he's still there. Oh, well. All right.
Yeah.
He pulls up alongside them, starts terrorizing them because he gets in his police.
I love that shot of him just laughing. Oh, and lest we forget, before they pull away in the car, he totally like, I don't think he uses an axe, but he's using a hammer. He goes through the door, very Jack Torrance Shining style, through the bedroom door.
He pulls up alongside them and is terrorizing that way. And then a big truck is coming. And I'm like, oh no. I have Final Destination thoughts. Exactly. I'm like, Final Destination 2, oh no, it's a big logging truck. No, it is a potato truck. And he crashes them. He crashes his wife and son into a potato truck. And like the potatoes just was not prepared for potatoes. Do not, like, I don't know why that made me laugh so much, but I just, like a horrible thing just happened, but I am howling with laughter.
It's funny. Yeah, I don't know. Dead by Spuds.
And he doesn't give like, he doesn't do a witty one-liner about it. He's just
I know.
Like,
I mean, I was trying to think, Spuds, eyes,
Spuds for you,
peels, you're going to be peeling yourself up off the road. I don't know, you know.
I'd hope you're dead. I don't know.
There's the winner.
Yeah. That's probably why they didn't.
Right. Yeah.
they didn't go for that.
Right.
But he's like, oh, they're all dead. Cool. And then takes off.
Well, then he goes back and gets Clyde's body and zips him up in a body bag.
Yes. And he's like, I'm taking you up to the hill. So he knows what caused this, and he's going to bring back Clyde. Maybe Clyde is the son he always wanted. He's like,
there you go.
You're a tough bully. That's cool.
Jeff's dad sees on the news that the family has died, and also Clyde is missing. It's just one of those like really funny like information delivery moments from the news. Like
unrelated. This is
also happened in our small sleepy town.
Yeah, and of course the housekeeper's there watching alongside and like, oh, that's terrible. Right. Don't forget I'm still in this movie.
Yeah. He goes upstairs to see a pouting Furlong who is like setting out his mother's clothes.
Yeah, he's like up in the attic.
Right.
He has started his journey to become Crispin Glover.
He's
wearing a black suit that he like wore the
tuxedo.
He's putting dead mother's clothes on stuff. Which seems, I don't think Crispin Glover's ever done that. But if I heard that Crispin Glover did that, you're like, well, yeah.
Yeah,
I could see that
tracks. Yeah. He full on just tells his dad that I'm going to bring her back. Like, I'm going to bring her back from the dead.
Yeah, it's Jeff's journey kind of is real weird because the movie kind of stops having him be the main character at a certain point. You're really following him along. That's true. And then he just kind of gets shoved in the background, and like some of the decisions he makes don't make a lot of sense. And you could toss them off as like, well, he's a dumb teenager, but he starts getting like really obsessed with this because he's seen people come back from the dead. And again, you saw what they came back as.
Right.
And you're like, you know who would be good at that is my mom. Is she would somehow not be a murderous zombie.
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, he doesn't know that they murdered, but
that's true. But it's the classic just grief thing. Like, well, if I do it, it'll be fine.
It'll be totally be
different.
Fine. Yeah, but he's like, she's going to want all this stuff when she comes back.
Chase gets called away to the cemetery to find out that his wife has been exhumed, and Gus definitely did it. The cemetery worker at this point does say what you referred to before. It's the weirdest thing to happen since Lewis dug up his boy, referencing the first film.
Yeah, because it's like, he dug her up too. And so, like, my first thought as a kind of reference to is like, oh, is he just going to try to like create this family for himself?
Oh, yeah.
And kind of, but not. I mean, it doesn't really go into that too much. But what I like is that at this point, like, you find out that her body's gone. And then you get this very, very strange, almost dream sequence with Edward Furlong, like still in a suit, traversing the woods.
Oh,
and going up to the pet cemetery, and it is so unbelievably phony compared to what you saw before.
Sure,
but it works.
Yeah,
because it makes it just much more sort of surreal and strange. Because he goes up to like where the graveyard is, and it seems like there's just a painted backdrop for this. Like this is clearly on a set.
Totally,
and like
I love that kind of stuff though.
Yeah, it definitely feels like more like old school horror kind of thing. And there's Clancy Brown. He like points him off to the direction of where his mom is. And like he walks by this tree and all of a sudden he's in this like field of grass where his mom is buried. And it's all very strange. But then Gus is like,
you bury your own.
So then what my initial thought of like, will Gus bang this family? No, that's out the window now. Now it's some big weird thing.
Right.
It makes it seem like maybe when asked later about it, and we'll get there when it happens, Gus has a different answer, but this seems like that raising her is this bigger deal for the cause rather than just for Edward Furlong.
Sure.
That, like this is important that he bring her back and all this. And
right, because she has some sort of myth attached.
It's really unclear why Jeff is like, okay, yeah, I'm on board with, I mean, I understand why he would want to dig up his mom, but why Gus is like their relationship. Why are they cool with each other now and all that?
Now, yeah. Well, because, he used to date.
Yeah, I guess.
Housekeeper later goes upstairs and finds the mom's dress that Jeff had laid out, and she's, weirdly drawn to it.
She's hypnotized by this dress.
Exactly.
There's a movie with Madchen Mick, Shelley from Twin Peaks. It's I'm Dangerous Tonight, where like she wears a dress that makes her go insane. A murderous red dress. Ooh. And so I just thought of that, where it's just like she's just obsessed with this item of clothing.
Yeah.
And it's not like, she was my favorite movie star. I want to be just like her, single white female star.
Exactly.
It's just like, I'm going to look good in this dress. I'm putting this on right now. So it's like, is the dress calling to her? It's a very, very strange thing. But in doing so, Renee shows up. And I kind of like this reveal. She's in one of those, like sitting in front of a vanity. A vanity. Thank you. With like the three mirrors, and you see this figure behind her like smash the mirror, and they don't show Renee's face right away, which I like that.
Smash the mirror and like hold up a shard of glass to her throat. Chase, the dad, is on his way to Gus's house. He's attacked by Zowie the dog and ends up shooting it with a pistol. Inside, he finds Gus building something, which he just replies that he's building a doggy door, which
I love that because he's
funny.
Yeah, the dog is dead. He's like, well, I was building a doggy door.
Right.
Like,
perfect.
How dare you?
And to Chase's credit, he just shoots Gus where he stands.
Yeah.
So, like, I'm kind of glad that there was no him and haw, and he was just like, nope, I am going to point this gun at you and shoot, and before you can pontificate at me or whatever.
But it
doesn't affect him.
Yeah, it does not stop Gus. I hate it when that happens, he says.
Right.
And then there's a great back and forth here.
Why did you dig up my wife?
Because I wanted to fuck her.
I was not prepared for that bluntness of this movie. Yeah.
Completely. Yeah.
Then they fight a little bit, and then Clancy Brown, he pulls out a drill.
Ooh,
and it is gonna put it in Chase's head, and he tells him
no brain, no pain. Think about it.
Anthony Edwards ends up shooting him in the head, putting him down.
He manages to put one bullet back in his revolver, and it's almost like a Russian roulette type of situation where he keeps clicking the hammer, trying to like hope that he gets a bullet in the chamber. But Gus is just cackling the entire time, and he doesn't really seem to care.
Yeah.
Until he does finally get the back of his head blown out by this. I think
pistol. There's a certain amount of that where it's that sort of Gus's thing is that he just doesn't care anymore. It's like, I've already died once. Who gives a shit?
Yeah. This is bonus time. Exit Clancy Brown. Jeff goes running upstairs, and Mom is back in all of her glory. She's all like lit beautifully in the attic and everything, and they've got all these like white sheer blinds flowing in the area.
Very, very music video style. Made me think of Tony Scott, The Hunger, but also Meatloaf's "I Will Do Anything for Love."
So, Chase gets home to find Marjorie completely gored through the face with a glass shard, sees Mom and Jeff embracing on the bed, and she says, we can make it work this time. She's looking pretty good for a corpse,
totally
especially,
fine. Totally not a problem.
Especially, I don't get the impression that the whole, the fresh corpse logic is, like, a thing in this movie.
No.
But she's back and looking pretty radiant.
Normal. Looks completely just fine. Like, no, I mean, you'd think that, obviously big Hollywood star, they got the money to, have a nice funeral, but, like, there was a serious burn on her face. I don't know how they just covered it up, but, whatever. She just looks perfect and is alive now, I guess.
Tells Jeff to go downstairs, so he opens the door, and who's back? It's Clyde, because we need a dumb fight scene here. Clyde is pointlessly back.
Hey, Junior.
Shit.
Want to play?
Comes at all of them with an axe while the mom starts laughing. Yeah. All these motivations are getting really murky at this point. Fine. They all roll around fighting. She starts a fire for some reason. also didn't know why she.
Yeah, that was not well thought through.
Right. Furlong manages to shove an electrical cord into Clyde's mouth, which makes his head blow up. So at least we got that out of it.
You got the glowing cheek effect.
Yeah. Now the mom's face is starting to come apart a little bit. Must have been, the embalmers work.
The wax they shoved
the side
in there,
of her face. The wax, right. Yeah. Jeff finally realizes that this might have been a bad idea, and he tries to axe down the door and ends up saving his dad.
Yeah, which I love because she's like, don't go. And then he's kind of torn, but then the dad's like,
She's not your mom. Jeff, she's not your mom. Let's go.
And then just leaves.
Yeah.
I like how
and that's it.
That's your wife. I know you were estranged, but he's like, don't care.
Yeah, we got to get out. She does start screaming, "Stay with me," and
Dad is better!
In the first one, Dead is better was a warning thing. Was Judd going leave it alone,
exactly.
Dead's better. But this just makes it seem like being dead rules. Come and join.
That's
Again,
what
it feels like the Deadites, where it's like, no, come join the party. Like we want to kill everybody and make them all into us and whatever. It has a very different feel to it.
It was almost like they thought of it as a throwback line that they wanted to include first without really thinking through the connotation of what it means.
And just her inclusion in all this is sort of like the big bad just seems so strange and a bit forced, where you've been fighting, again, these two bullies. And then what is your mom the ultimate bully? Just thematically, it just is this separate thing. And again, this sort of oh, here's all this toxic masculinity of sorts. Then and then your mom is also sucks.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. I don't know. There's just all these themes and things that could be interesting that just kind of, no, we're just going to get weird with it. But it just feels like because Jeff has been taken out of the picture largely to focus on Drew and his dad and all that, this kind of, oh yeah, and his mom died. Don't forget about that. Just, it doesn't feel that cohesive.
Yeah, exactly. I do love this ending, though. It's kind of like Blade Runner ending, taking the car out on a highway into the forest, and we get our own little in memoriam.
Yes. Made your job
visual
easy,
in memoriam. Yeah, exactly. So they flash through the faces of everybody who died in the movie, which was pretty
and they
fantastic.
Get a little like in a little cameo shaped thing on the side. Oval. Yeah, and they're smiling, remembering half of your times.
Right.
I just felt like, I don't know, the end credits to Dune, to David Lynch's Dune.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Where it's meet the players.
Right. Yeah. Meet the players who died. But and that concludes Pet Sematary Part 2. I recommend people watch this thing if you haven't. It's so just goofy and fun.
It's a worse movie, but it is more entertaining.
I would say that. Yeah.
So much looser than the first one.
Doesn't have the atmosphere of the first one, which is always what I come back to with that movie. But this one is just a complete tonal shift, and it's absolutely worth checking out.
Yeah, it's a difference. To me, it's a difference between a movie that you would go to see in a theater versus something you'd rent and watch with your friends.
Oh, completely. Even though the movie already did it for us, let's go ahead and honor our dead.
Renee Matthews, played by Darlan Flegel, electrocuted in on-set accident. Sheriff Gus Gilbert, played by Clancy Brown, throat torn out by dog. Clyde Parker, played by Jarrett Rushton. Clyde Parker, played by Jarrett Rushton, head flayed by dirt bike tire. Drew Gilbert, played by Jason McGuire, killed in car accident with potato truck. Amanda Gilbert, played by Lisa Waltz, also killed in car accident with potato truck. Marjorie Hargrove, played by Sarah Trigger, stabbed in the eye with glass shard.
So Clancy Brown, the standout star of this for me. Yeah. I'll think of his performance often. Could have done with a little less kittens in peril, but at the same time, if you're signing up to watch a Pet Sematary movie, there's going to be a little bit of animals in danger that you kind of got to be okay with. But
and I like the shift to a dog. Because I know it's just easy to be oh, Cujo, but I think that's a more terrifying thing. I used to work for a guy had this I don't know what kind of dog it was, a big husky or something. Is Frost the Shetty Yeti? Love that guy. But I was playing with the dog and I'm like, this thing could just tear out my throat right now if it just got like too excited. Right. And so just that like a cat is mean in its own way, but like dogs are big and powerful. And so I like that aspect of it. And I kind of wish they'd done a little bit more with that. But again, like I said, you don't want to get too much into Cujo territory. Right. And it's just, I could use maybe like one less dream sequence and one more bike chase.
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of things that I can think of that would make this movie quote unquote better, but it might lose the charm because it might go too far into being a good movie. Yeah. Like somehow exploring the relationship between Edward Furlong and the housekeeper and the mother and all that kind of stuff might not have been the most entertaining, but it would have been like a better movie. You could absolutely like go ahead and remake Pet Sematary 2. Just call it Pet Cemetery 2, based on nothing. Sure. Make it a deeper film, and that might be interesting. But yeah, like this is definitely like just a more B movie thing, and it knows it. You know what I mean? Like it has no pretensions about it. Yeah, it's got problems, but I was entertained. Give it a watch, everyone. Before we sign off, I wanted to read a letter from a listener. This was sent in to us by Adam Lindemann, and he says, Dear Monsieur Strayer and Myers, longtime listener, first-time writer, love the pod. When I heard in the Pumpkinhead wrap-up episode that your next franchise will be Pet Sematary, my mind immediately went to two things. Clancy Brown killing somebody by removing his face with a spinning motorcycle tire in Pet Sematary 2, and arguably more importantly, the Ramones song that closes out the original. Which leads me to my question. What other great songs done for a horror movie by a popular band are out there, and do any of them compare to Pet Sematary by the Ramones? And he signs off by saying, coming a long way from Baghead, Adam. So thanks so much for writing in. That was a lot of fun to get. And of course, it made me need to rack my own brain, look up a few songs online. I didn't cheat too much, but I did try to remember a few off the top of my head before I went fully into Google. But I don't know, man. It's hard to beat the Ramones
as far as like,
and like I said, I'm not even that big of a Ramones fan, but yeah, as far as the best one, like, man, that song is still stuck in my head a good month after I watched that first movie. Yeah. But did you come up with any that you were partial to?
I remembered right away that from, I'm certainly not partial to it, but the Alice Cooper, he's back, the man behind the mask from Friday the 13th part 6, Jason Lives. That was a big one. And of course, Dream Warriors by Dokken.
That has to be the best one. I mean, if we go past the Ramones,
leaving out the Ramones,
I think it's Dokken's Dream Warriors, especially with that music video too, which is like a full tie-in to, arguably the best Nightmare on Elm Street sequel for my money. That Dokken song is fantastic.
I still haven't seen that movie, but I enjoy the song.
Ooh, yeah. Motorhead did a song for Hellraiser 3. Just called Hellraiser.
Like Ozzy Osbourne also had Hellraiser, and I guess Lemmy beat him to the punch on that.
Exactly.
It is in Hellraiser 3.
Yes. But we watched that movie Trick or Treat. We had that string of like,
that and Black
maybe
Roses.
Not string, but yeah, exactly. We watched a few like heavy metal horror movies. I love that stuff. So yeah, Trick or Treat by Fastway.
Yeah. I did not know that Jay Giles Band did a Fright Night song that was featured.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't like the Jay Giles Band.
Not familiar with it,
so I reject their works.
The another one like Iggy Pop did it's okay. Why Was I Born from Freddy's Dead? But I'm not as familiar with Freddy's Dead as I am Dream Warriors.
There's also like the one that I found that is probably bottom of the barrel as far as like the big ones go is Laz Rocket, Leatherface. They did a song from the Texas Chainsaw Massacre Part 3. And I think it's because it's Laaz, but both A's have umlauts on them, and I don't know if that like cancels each other out, like double negative or something. If it's like lays or whatever, I don't know how to read. But I mean, honestly, and we didn't talk about it enough. But I would say, I mean, the Ramones are good, but for my money, the best one has got to be Roger Clinton's song at the end of Blood Wings.
There you go.
That's the peak, the pinnacle of human expression, frankly.
Oh, right. That's true. That's true. Yeah, I mean, it does make me miss an era of music video tie-ins. Like, we just don't get that kind of thing anymore, you know? Well, gosh, it's not so much a horror movie, but it's horror adjacent. But let us not forget the MC Hammer rap for the Addams Family.
I was going to say that as a joke because I'm like, well, there's no way he's going to say this, so I'll just say something stupid like MC Hammer from Addams Family. But they do what they want to do, say what they want to say. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. But I do, you know, especially when it comes to horror movies, like it's going to be hair metal or old like 80s, 90s metal bands or like hard rock type of stuff. So that's automatically fun. I mean, I did look up Wasp had a movie or had a song in Ghoulies 2, Scream Until You Like It, you know? So yeah, I love this kind of stuff. All the tie-ins, especially like old metal stuff. But yeah, Dokken has to take the
outside of the Ramones, because I think to me the Ramones are out there. But then probably my next would be Dokken.
But yeah, thanks for the letter, Adam. That was very nice to get, and thanks for listening. Yeah. So in 2 weeks' time, we are going to take a look at the Pet Sematary remake from, I believe it was 2019. I know I watched it once. I can barely remember a single thing about it.
Well, that's
so
good.
I don't know if that bodes well or not. So I hope you will stay on board for that.
I'm honestly a little bummed that we might be getting serious again.
Oh, you know that's a good point.
I love a good serious horror movie, like an honest, you know. But like this was so goofy and kind of I'm like, oh, I have to.
That's a good point.
I have to. It's like I don't know. It's having dessert and then being like, well, okay, now I got to go have steak again. I guess
I'll take a steak. But yeah, Pet Sematary 2019. I can't remember what service that's on. It might be Paramount.
I think it's
Plus,
on Paramount
because
Plus
that's what the new one is on.
But who knows? That could change at any moment.
I was just going to say, right,
because of our wonderful world.
It could be removed at any time. So hurry up and watch it as soon as you hear this, just in case it gets removed. We'll have a Pumpkinhead situation getting removed from Tubi on our hands.
How dare they?
But yes, until then, check us out on Instagram at This May Hurt a Bit Pod. Hurt a Bit Pod on YouTube, and email us at thismayhurtabitpod@gmail.com. And if you have a moment, drop us a 5-star review. That kind of helps with the old algorithm that we're all fighting to be a part of and away from. So if you enjoy it, 5 stars, no less, please. But until then, thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.
Good night.
Good night. This has been a Two Penguins Media production. It was produced by James Strayer and edited by John C. Myers. Logo by Ethan Kimberling and music by Michael Arthur Holloway, who you can find on Bandcamp. Follow us on Instagram at This May Hurt a Bit Pod and on Twitter at Hurt a Bit. Email us at thismayhurtabit@gmail.com. And if you are so inclined, rate and review us on your favorite podcast app, and we'll see you next time.